Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Barkhouse Live. Here we are with a really, really wonderful, wonderful show. For those of you that have been following us for a while, you know that one of our greatest accomplishments is that we're able to transport the dogs in the Las Cruces area and the outlying areas and transport them to safety using airlift. And with us today, we have Julian Javor, who is the pilot and the owner of Pet Rescue Pilots. And we have Ori Blumenfeld, who is with us. He's an attorney out of Beverly Hills. He's a good friend of Julian's, and he was able to actually go on a flight with Julian. So we're going to hear about that. And of course, we have Koko, who is not only the managing director of Barkhouse, but he is also the co-host of the show. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Gee, real enthusiastic, you guys. So, good morning.
Good morning.
So we want to welcome you all, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into what the making of a freedom flight is all about. And just from your perspective, Julian, what is it? Why are freedom flights so important to animal rescue?
Well, we talk about rescue by relocation within our group here, and we understand what that term means, but I don't know if it's something that's universally understood, that there are areas in the country that are overburdened by population in the animal shelters, whether that be due to poor spay-neuter practices, lack of education, or just general pet culture, while there are areas in the country that have empty shelters and have waiting and willing adopters. So what transporting these pets means and the making of a freedom flight means is moving these pets out of places where they really probably wouldn't have a chance. They would go unnoticed, and moving them to an area where they are very much wanted and a home is waiting.
Okay, so Julian, why did you choose to fly animals to safety as opposed to anything else? I mean, it could have been children, it could have been adults, seniors, whatever. Why animals?
I suppose you could say it chose me. The way I got into this ultimately was by becoming a commercial pilot, but having a career on the ground that I didn't feel I could leave. So I decided to use my piloting skills for volunteer services. And when I looked at different ways to get involved, pets just presented themselves to me, and I've always been an animal lover. The nice thing about pets is that they don't get in their own way as far as when you provide them assistance, if that makes sense. With human beings, they have to want to help themselves in order for you to help them. With the pets, it's just direct.
So, Koko, how did Barkhouse get involved with Pet Rescue Pilots?
As most things, it's always Kelly Barker. She makes really great connections and gets in touch with people that have similar minds to do things that we're looking to do. So, she reaches out and she'll propose an idea to somebody, and it's she's getting really good at getting positive responses back. And I think that's how we ended up getting in touch with Julian in the first place. I mean, we've made a really great relationship there, and we're really excited to have that partnership with them.
Okay, do you know how many flights you've done so far, Julian?
Yeah, we're doing our 78th flight today.
Really?
79th will be on Friday and Saturday, and then the following week will be the 80th, and then the 81st. So this month is going to be very busy.
Okay, well, Ori, you had the opportunity to be on the flight, and that's how I think we all met you. Well, we know for sure. I don't think I know that you had the opportunity to fly with Julian. And I know when I first met you, you were so excited over everything that was happening, because behind the scenes, it's a lot different than it is when you see it on a video or you hear about it. So, what was your experience? We'd love to know.
I mean, it was nothing but phenomenal.
Oops. Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
I was saying it was nothing but phenomenal, and I think one of the first things I must have said to Julian when we landed back in LA was, "When do I get to do it again?" from beginning to end. I mean, just this fulfillment of what you just accomplished and the animals that you just that you've rescued or at least participated some bit in their rescue. It's just so fulfilling and worthwhile, and it's something I can't wait to do again. My hats off to Julian and to everyone that participates in these flights.
Well, I had seen you at the airport. I saw you the night before Koko and I did, and we saw you the day of. And I noticed that now all of a sudden you want to adopt. What is it? A Labradoodle or whatever? Was that because of the flight? You were influenced to do that?
It was. I immediately Julian let me. There was one the what was it, the 1000th animal? Yeah, Sparky, Spanky. We gave him 30 names by the end of the flight. I had him on my lap the entire flight, and just I think he was just as excited as me. He didn't want to be in his cage. He actually, him and I both were looking out the window of the flight, and it was just, I don't know, it was just an amazing, bond and relationship. And, obviously I didn't keep that one, but I said, I would love nothing more than to adopt a pet. They came from this experience.
Right. Well, Koko, give us a feeling for what it's like. I know you've been on all the flights. Coco's wife and him are the photographers for all of this, and what Cocos experiences is the goosebumps that we get when we see you guys fly off. It's like, oh my God, they're finally free. Because what you don't see is what we've gone through in getting these dogs to the point where they can be transported, or the cats as well too. So it takes a village, folks. It really, really does. So Koko, you might want to explain where it starts with Barkhouse.
Yeah, well, the dogs come to us in a multitude of different ways, and it starts with our foster network. We have these great people that are holding on to these dogs for us and caring for them all the while, and they could be with them, a couple weeks, couple days, couple months, and and they have a multitude of different situations. Some of them, kind of sad stories where they came from, and this population is a very at-risk population just due to the fact of our overcrowding in the shelters and things like that. So these people are going the extra mile to care for these animals and then have them prepped and ready for flight, so that way they can be sent somewhere where they'll find a good home, in pretty short term. And so there's a lot that goes into that, the care, the vet care that they have to, make sure all these animals have access to, and and then there's the excitement that when we get that flight scheduled and things are starting to move and starting to happen, people get excited because they know that the story for those animals going on that flight is gonna have a happy ending. So and it's like you talk about, when the wheels finally go up and the plane takes off, the feeling on the ground is incredible. Being at one of these, even on the tarmac, not even being in the plane. I'm sure in the plane is, a good bit of fun, but on the ground, people are celebrating. They're excited, more pre-COVID than now. A lot of hugs and things like that. People are happy to see, we've done our part, and now they're going somewhere where our, wonderful receivers can take over and do their follow through.
Well, Ori, when you saw the animals and you saw them being loaded, you saw all the wagging tails and all that. Can you imagine that where they were at may have been in the, excuse me. Oops.
I think they have lots to say, but I think the point that Kathy was going to ask is, do you feel that kind of excitement in the air as well? Like, do you feel that there's a sense of understanding from the animals that they, there's something positive happening for them, or, what was it like in the plane? Were the dogs relatively quiet? Like, what was your experience? How would you describe that?
Julian, we wear these, noise canceling headphones. So, we don't really hear it. I think we heard a little, but for the most part, once you're up in the air, I think the animals just pretty much go to sleep. The only one I can speak for is, our friend Sparky Spanky that sat on my lap and, was just as equally excited. And, for the 3-hour flight that he was on my lap, Julian held him, I held him, and I think he just loved it. I mean, he loved that he had this, human touch during those hours. So I can only imagine if the other 50 animals, were with us as well, they would have felt the same. And, I know I can speak for myself and, for Julian, that we felt that same connection as well.
That's awesome. So Sparky, being the 1000th, he kind of got a first class experience flying up in the cockpit. That's pretty awesome. Julian, would you say that that's a pretty common experience among the dogs, that they kind of chill out, once everything's in motion? You guys are at cruising altitude. Would you say that?
Absolutely. By the time we get to cruise altitude, almost every pet has just, said, okay, we're going to enjoy the ride. We're going to take a nap, do whatever it is. And, for a lot of people who don't know how it works and how we get these images in the cockpit with these pets, it all happens at cruise altitude, at a safe altitude when autopilot is flying. And I always have a handler next to me. And in this case, the co-pilot handler was Ori, and Spanky just refused to go back into his crate. So Spanky was very eager to be out front. He was looking out the window the whole time. And like Ori said, I think for him, who had lived, chained up and on the streets his whole life pretty much, to have that human touch was invaluable. And I know he's getting a lot of that now because he was adopted within 2 or 3 days of arriving to the NOAA Center. But, what I've actually noticed, interestingly enough, is that the pets who do get to come out during the flight, that I have access to and that my handlers can bring up and we can spend a little time with them, they are even more relaxed upon reaching the destination than some of the others who have just kind of quietly been taking it and hoping that this is all for the right reasons. They've had that touch. They've gotten to feel our warmth and our good intentions.
Well, excuse me for the noise in the background. This, of course, is a Barkhouse, so we're living true to form on that. When you talk about Spanky and all you notice that they get adopted right away, and some of these dogs could have been there for a year waiting for adoption. So the beauty of the transport, this is, in my opinion, is that we bring them to places where we know people want to adopt them. So know this for sure, folks, that transport is not just about taking one dog and putting him in another place so that they can live the exact same life. Correct. That's not what it's about. It's about bringing these animals to a place where they will have forever homes and they will be loved. And in a lot of cases, they're already spoken for before they even get there. And that's because of what Barkhouse's transport logistics program is about, is working with Julian to give him those pets that we know are vetted, are up to date on their shots. They have health certificates, which is required to go cross state, and that they are going to some place where the organizations, which are known as the receivers, when they take them in, they are taking them in knowing that either a foster is going to take them. They're not going to a shelter. They're going to a foster, or they're going to somebody's home, which is a key issue in a lot of transports. And kudos to you, Julian, on that, because I know that's what your format is and what your platform is. You want to continue to do that. Speaking of which...
Can I actually speak to that for one moment? So I've spoken to Kelly about this and Koko, and for pet rescue pilots, we've had the opportunity for a lot of transport senders. We refer to sending organizations and receiving organizations, and I've been contacted by a lot of senders who do want to send shelter to shelter. And it's always been my mission at Pet Rescue Pilots to improve the quality of life of the pet. So with the exception of, for example, a flight like I'm doing today, where we have an emergency on our hands with cats who are facing euthanasia and they're being moved to a shelter that has room for them, I do not do shelter to shelter, and I won't partner with people who do shelter to shelter. We specifically, engineer these flights so that we're taking a manageable group of pets that the receiving organizations will be able to adopt out by the time that we bring them the next group of pets. And that's what Barkhouse is focused on. That's what Pet Rescue Pilot's mission is, and it's a great partnership for that reason.
Oh, it absolutely is. Speaking of emergencies and heroes, Koko, you might want to tell what happened to us in Las Cruces in the last week and how Barkhouse has come to actually, I think that Barkhouse is one of the greatest solution providers. Heroes is one thing, solution providers is another. So with the combination of Julian and Barkhouse, we did a wonderful thing. So what happened?
So we're facing a pretty difficult situation here in Las Cruces. Our municipal shelter, the Animal Services Center in the Mesilla Valley, experienced an outbreak of COVID among their staff, which has, brought their whole production to a complete halt. We're wishing the best to their staff and everybody. They do a good job, a great job when they're able to function. But right now, they have a population of over 300 animals that still need their care, still need their vetting that they can't do right now. Has these animals are there's an uncertainty for all of them, and so we said, well, we got to do something, And so what we're doing is we actually set up 3 flights for this month, which are with Julian and our emergency level flights. We're trying to get as many dogs and cats out of that shelter as possible and get them somewhere where they're not going to be in an overloaded shelter system that is struggling to meet the demand right now. So we've got the 3 flights as shown on the thing below me. We've got the 7th, the 14th, and the 23rd, and we are trying to empty that shelter as quickly as possible and help the Animal Services Center with their overloaded capacity.
Okay, so that gives you an idea where we're at. Now, Ori, when you look at all of this and you think to yourself, why is my friend doing this? Do you get it now? Do you get the whole concept? Because, there's a lot of people that say, well, it's just a dog. So, who cares?
No, it's so much more. It's so worthwhile. It really was just an unbelievable experience. And you really, it's only when I got back home and I had a chance to process exactly what I had the pleasure of participating in. I just, I couldn't stop talking about Julian like he was, the next Messiah or something.
He probably is.
It's really just an unbelievable thing. It really, until you're actually a part of it and you don't just hear it in words, there really are no words for what Julian and what you guys do for these animals. So just kudos to you guys.
So how do you both feel about this method of transporting animals as opposed to driving or other ways? How do you feel? Is this the go-to way?
So firstly, I just want to say thank you, Ori, for those kind words. I share that kind of experience that it's not until several hours after returning home that the impact that we made with each flight sinks in. Occasionally, we'll have some very special needs medical cases. We'll have senior dogs who are in their golden years and they find themselves without homes or loving arms to be in. And, after the flight, I'll get home and that's when the tears will start flowing, because during the day, Ori and I, we were incredibly busy. It's just, with the exception of our early morning trip from Las Cruces to Calaveras, which was very sleepy. We were very, very busy the whole day, managing weather, managing pets, managing pickups and drop-offs and such. So it's a busy day. With regards to how I feel about this method of transportation, again, like Ori said, it's one of those things that, you don't understand it until you've done it. A lot of people think, well, isn't that wasteful? Why fly them? They're just dogs. Why not drive them? This and that. Well, to be honest with you, our cost per transport of pet is lower than it would cost somebody to send a pet with ground transport, undeniably so, because our average cost generally is around $40 to $50 per pet we transport. It's way more humane for the pets. We take a 20 to 30 hour drive and turn it into a 3 to 4 hour flight. So that is incomparable. And what we like to say at Pet Rescue Pilots is flying allows us to go the distance to save more pets over greater distances in less time. So that's the answer, flying.
Okay, so now here's what I would like to do. A couple of weeks ago, Gaetan Chere from Today Production Studios, who also is a producer and co-host of the Dog Connection show. He came out to Las Cruces and he flew with you. And the purpose of doing that was to take some footage that was where the footage is going to be used for a new series called The Good Dog Day Show. And he was a one-man show. Now picture, normally he's done over 400 documentaries. It was a one-man show where he had to do the audio and everything. He normally has a crew. So what we're going to show you is a clip from what he has put together. And there is some area when Koko is talking where the wind kind of hit, but that's okay, folks. Let's take a look at this video. I think you'll all enjoy it.
Founded the organization at Rescue Pilots, and it's founded for a couple of different reasons. One is knowing that there are areas in the country that suffer from overcrowded shelters and a high euthanasia rate of pets in their shelters. And then there are areas in the country where there's just there's undeniably a lack of dogs and adoptable dogs and cats. So I noticed that with my flying, I was able to cut down on the distances between these areas and the time travel. And so I was regularly doing trips up to, from Central Valley of California up to Washington State, Western Canada, etc. And now I have a great partnership with Barkhouse, New Mexico, so we're doing flights regularly out of New Mexico as well. Oh my God, look at the eyes. Really?
Yeah, the other one is blue on the front.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, you guys need nail trim.
Oh my gosh, you know what? I gotta put a picture of that.
She's about a year old. They are going to have to use some of the crates, but he just meant the two big, not all the dogs, the two big dogs. Okay.
No.
Go, Jada.
I'm from Barkhouse. We're the nonprofit organization who is flying the animal. We partner with Pet Rescue Pilots. They're the ones supplying the animals to fly them to places like California and to our receivers. They're coming from our foster network mostly. So we have a team of fosters that take care of the puppies and dogs that come to us, and so we kind of coordinate with all of them to arrive here at the airport, and we ship them to. Like today, we're shipping to Helen Woodward Animal Center in San Diego, California. Here in southern New Mexico and in the Southwest in general, we have a major pet overpopulation issue, and so it's not difficult to find the supply of animals to bring, into our foster network, into our, our overall Barkhouse network. And so in coordinating with all of those people, we bring the dogs here and then we ship them to, areas where they'll have a better chance of finding a home instead of our at-risk area here in Las Cruces. Unfortunately, you don't want to say it, but more than likely they'll end up long-term in a shelter system where they run the risk of, disease or any number of, unpleasant outcomes, the worst of which being euthanasia, which far too many animals are being euthanized due to just a lack of space. Transport is the thing that can actually cut into the pet overpopulation right now. We can ship out, between 20 to 65 to 70 animals at any given time, and we're trying to do it where we can do it weekly, and so we can really take, the shelter population, which usually sits between 300 and 400 animals, and if we're chipping away at that weekly 70, 65 animals, whatever we can accommodate, we can really make waves and, create that space that's very badly needed. Flying is great. I mean, it allows us to reach a much further destinations in a short amount of time. Transport by and large, if we're doing it by ground, where we're going today, that would be a 10-hour drive. So we're going to be able to get these animals from Las Cruces, New Mexico today to Helen Woodward there in San Diego in 3 hours time. So it's a lot better for them. It's easier on the animal, number one. But then, so many of our receiver destinations are kind of further away, Pacific Northwest, Idaho, Colorado. So it allows us to extend our reach and be able to accomplish our mission.
And now I have a great partnership with Barkhouse, New Mexico, so we're doing flights regularly out of New Mexico as well, which is another heavy burden location in the shelter system. So that is what the organization does, and my time is fully volunteered for flying in.
For the maintain 50400.
Today we have a rather unusual trip for me. Well, it's becoming more usual now with this amazing partnership with Barkhouse and Helen Woodward in the San Diego area, but typically I wouldn't fly dogs to California, but the assignment today is we have a number of litters. We have 25 puppies on this flight, puppies that are 8 to 10 weeks old, and we don't have a lot of puppies in the city shelters in San Diego and Los Angeles, and a lot of people are looking to adopt puppies. But what they'll do in those areas is they'll turn to a breeder. What we're doing here is we're allowing them to adopt locally there, and we're making sure that these have a chance because there's an abundance of puppies here. Hi, my name is Julian Javor, and it's a good dog day today. It certainly was. 25 times a good dog day today.
What do you think, guys?
It's awesome.
It's cool.
Yeah, Koko, you're on mute.
That's because I have kids in my house, so sorry about that.
That's okay. That was just really, really awesome. And of course you've been doing this all along, but it's good to see from the outside looking in of what really it takes. So kudos to Gaetan. That was very good. So now, what are your plans for the future?
Well, you heard we have flights out of Las Cruces on the 7th, the 14th, and the 23rd. So the immediate future, my plans are to be spending quite a bit of time in New Mexico.
You should move here. You should move here, or at least buy a home here. Lori, come with them and buy a home here. Summer home.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
The real estate market would certainly be way different than it is out here where we're at in California and Los Angeles. So
yeah.
The plans for pet rescue pilots, I mean, we have had I'm so pleased with the year that we have had. We were founded this year. We had major challenges due to COVID because, we basically submitted our IRS 501c3 application in December of 2019. And due to COVID delays, we didn't get our approval letter until late June. So we basically operated half the year handicapped, without the ability to approach grant foundations, without the ability to approach corporate sponsors. But still, this year we have managed to support the rescue of the transport of over 600 pets.
Fantastic.
This year we have flown just over 50,000 miles as of today. And it's been done with the loving support of our audience on social media, as well as some very generous corporate and grants foundation sponsors like BCA Charities has granted us $15,000 for transport, which has carried us on a lot of our shortfalls on social media fundraising. SPCA International, Tito's Vodka. We've been very, very fortunate to have funded all of our flights operationally. We still have the maintenance to cover at the end of the year, but we'll work on that. And then my main goal, especially with the repeal of the pit bull ban in Denver, which is amazing. Great job to the citizens of Denver County for passing Measure 2J. I have a feeling that there's going to be a demand for some larger dogs going into the Denver area, which, as we know, they have a great dog culture up there. There's a lot of space and a lot of nature. So, pending that, I believe that it might be time for pet rescue pilots to look into investing into larger equipment, namely a Pilatus, which would be the most suitable aircraft, a PC-12 for, carrying up to 40 pit bulls at a time, which if you've ever been privy to pet rescue pilot situation, the aircraft we fly is a very capable aircraft. It's a nice 42-year-old twin engine aircraft, but it has a small rear entrance. It's difficult to load large dog crates. And because we have to walk from the back to the front, we have to use some of our floor space to keep a pathway for the pilots. So whereas the Pilatus has a rear cargo loading area and then front door entry for the pilots, as well as twice the volume in the cabin and almost twice the airspeed. So it'll be a big jump for us. It'll be something that I'll have to consider strongly if we're ready for it. But I believe that the rescue by relocation trend and initiative is gaining traction. We've made waves in our first year, along with other people who do what we do. And we're excited to do this work.
Wonderful. So other than donating, how can people help you?
Spreading the word is absolutely the biggest way that people can help. I mean, just to have an understanding of the general public of what rescue by relocation is, to have people share the word of, wow, we've taken dogs that have spent a year tied up or a year in the shelters, and within 2 days of arriving to Seattle, they're in a home. That is what rescue by relocation is all about. That is what sending partners like Barkhouse, transport partners like Pet Rescue Pilots, and the receivers that we pick to send to are all about. So if people would realize that this is a very legitimate way to save lives, I think that we would be much more effective.
Excellent. Okay, what a great show, you guys. Last thoughts. Koko, what do you want to share?
I gotta be with Julian on this. If you can find a way to support, rescue by relocation, I highly encourage people to do that as much as they can. Because for us in Las Cruces right now, they've given us the only solution that we have to get, a large population of animals out of here and into a place where they're, going to be loved, cared for, and eventually find, a home. And it doesn't take very long where we're sending them to. Right now, we don't have the adoption numbers, and we're actually at a standstill with adoptions through our local shelter. So everybody's just kind of in limbo. But even in the best of times, our adoption numbers don't match our intake, not even close. So we're seeing a whole lot of excess and too many animals being euthanized just for space, for lack of space. So, this is a very at-risk area. I'm so glad that we have partnered with Julian, who's able to help us in our cause to make sure that we're able to save as many lives as possible, send them to a place where they're going to be, loved, cared for, appreciated, all those things. So please support Rescue by Relocation, support, any way you can. What we're doing is we are saving lives, and Julian and Pet Rescue Pilots are a huge part of making that happen for us. So thank you, Julian. And, I can't say enough good things about our partnership with you guys. We're thrilled to know you, thrilled to have you on our side, and we're going to do a lot more.
It's been a pleasure, similarly, and thank you guys, because really, for all the thanks that I get, I feel almost, in a way, I think I struggle with imposter syndrome a little bit, because the reality is that the amount of work that goes into preparing these animals for transport, and then for the receiving organizations to adopt them out, I mean, that is the majority of the work. What we are doing is very important, of course. It's an important part of the puzzle, but in my opinion, you guys are the real heroes in this. So it's just a pleasure to be working with such like-minded individuals. And it's also just a blessing that I took Kelly's call, because I was in Missouri, in Kansas City, Missouri, on rescue when she called, and it was just good timing. So.
Okay. And Ori, now, would you do this again?
I mean, I think I started off the show with saying, the first thing I said when I landed, and, all the time is when do I get to go up again? And, I just wanted to say, in the year that we've all had in 2020 with COVID and civil unrest, and, more recently today, trying to wait to see who actually is going to be our president. It's amazing to see people that just care about and think about those, less fortunate, these animals, and, just the kindness that's expressed from all of you guys. I mean, it just really, my hat's off to you guys, to just how kind you are to these animals. And, it's such a beautiful thing. It really is. I mean, I really hope that, all of your listeners and viewers today donate, get the word out, because once you're a part of it, I don't think you can ever not be. It's just a beautiful thing to be a part of. So, thank you to all of you for letting me participate.
Absolutely. I can echo that, Ori. I actually get along a lot better with animals sometimes than I do with humans, particularly if somebody says they're not a dog lover. Whoops, red flag, red flag. Who wants to be around anybody that doesn't love animals, right? Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching the show. We have another show tomorrow. And as you know, it's our effort to bring together the community so that communities can actually participate in helping to build awareness in not only Las Cruces, but also around the world, letting people know that there are places like Barkhouse who are here not as a rescue, not as a shelter, but as an organization that is community oriented, where we are purposely looking to take these animals and transport them to safety by rescue through relocation. So thank you so very much for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys real soon again. Tomorrow we have another show. Hey, Koko, you want to talk about tomorrow's show before we go?
Yeah, so before we take off now, we're going to be meeting with Jess Williams, someone out of Las Cruces who's been in the animal welfare industry for a long time and is well known in this community for his good work. He's currently the editor of the Las Cruces Bulletin, so he's got a lot to speak on as far as the kindness of our community and what we are doing and what we can do more of to see our mission forward in rescuing animals. So tomorrow will be a really good show. Again, thank you, Julian. Thank you, Ori. It was great talking with you guys. It's always a good time. And Ori, you're welcome to come to Cruces anytime. We'll show you all the best restaurants. We've got a whole bunch of them. And so thank you guys a whole lot for being on the show with us today.
Okay. And we'll see you, Julian, we'll see you Friday.
See you tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right? That's tomorrow? Duh.
See you tomorrow evening.
Hey, listen, I have an excuse. I'm old. All right.
All right.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.